Hello and welcome back to the devlog for my game, the Commandonuts. In this episode, I'm going to be looking at creating a proper test environment for the game and doing a bit of tidying up along the way. As the theme of the game is food related, most of the environments will be based around a different type of food, but I also want to ground it in reality a bit. While the themes will be inspired by things such as Willy Wonka's factory or Weenie Hut Jr. from SpongeBob, the art style will be more akin to Castle Crashers or Don't Starve, with bold colours and a shallow perspective. Finding the right balance in reality and food will be key to designing the game, but for now, squares would do. Up until now, I've just been using a blank scene as a single sprite for the background to test the game, but it's time to create a full test level to get a feel for the mechanics in a proper environment. The first step to creating this test level is to design the layout. I started by creating a simple blocky design with a few areas and created a placeholder wall texture to surround them. The walls are made using the built-in tile map creator, which makes drawing the base for the levels very easy. I've broken down the tile maps into walls and floors. This is so I can add a tile map collider onto the walls so they actually work correctly. Then it was just a case of painting on the walls and floors around the basic shapes. I added a spawner into each area of the map, but I don't want all of the enemies spawning at once as soon as the level loads due to performance and gameplay reasons, so I need a trigger to activate them. For this, I created a player trigger class that simply has an event that's invoked when the player collides with it. I linked this up to the spawner, and now the enemies only spawn when the player hits the trigger. The basic shape of the level is there, but right now it's extremely empty. So let's start by adding some props. I'm going to start by planning out what props I'm going to need, so let's have a look at other games to see if you notice a pattern. Here is the classic opening from Half-Life inside the tram. And here's Goodsprings from Fallout New Vegas. And here's CJ rolling around in San Andreas. I think it's pretty clear that a game isn't complete until it has crates chucked around the place. So I opened up Sketchbook, which is what I use to draw sprites really badly, and got to work. A crate is simple, but getting the perspective right is important. Do I want to be able to see the top or the sides? Is it straight on? There's a key element to the designs that I have to get right, otherwise it just won't look good. Now that I've got some props set up, I threw them into the map to spice it up a bit. It already looks a lot better with these about the place, and they'll serve a purpose when it comes to gameplay, in terms of cover and destruction. Using my draw order script, which sorts the object based on their lowest point, the items are rendered from top to bottom. When you stand above an item, you'll be behind it in the draw order, which will give an illusion of perspective. The last element to consider for this test level is lighting. Lighting is very important to create an atmosphere in the levels, but it's also very useful in guiding the player to where they should be going or looking. If you see a well lit part of a room, there's a good chance there's something there to look at. I haven't really played around with 2D lighting in Unity, so I'm not going to waste too much time now. I'm just going to chuck a few lights in and call it a day. I'll have to do my homework on these to get them looking sharp, but that's Future Me's problem. And there we go, one lovely test level. But now, going away from the level, some tidying up is needed. While working on the game, I've already come across a few bugs that needed fixing. The first one was an issue with the weapon switching. When you switch weapons, the controller was set up correctly, however nothing would happen when you hold the trigger. After poking around for a while, I found out that the weapon controller wasn't actually being set correctly in the input class, but for the life of me, I could not figure out what was causing this. I tried storing it locally first, still nothing. I tried changing the event to a function call directly instead, still nothing. This took me ages to figure out, and after staring at the same code for about 20 minutes, it finally hit me. For some reason, I had a line of code at the very end of the weapon input script that I had left there that was trying to get the weapon controller component. Because of this, it was trying to grab the old one right before it was removed, leading to an error. Removing this, shockingly, made everything work perfectly. I swear, every time I have an error, it's always the stupidest thing causing it. Now that the weapon switching was fixed, I noticed the guns were a tad too rapid firing and would never reload. This one was a lot easier to fix, as exposing the values to the inspector showed that the reload time and attack rate were both in the negatives. It turned out that the level ratio calculation was off because I didn't have any brackets, and BODMAS came in and broke it. The ratio was supposed to be level minus 1 all divided by the cap. Instead was doing level minus 1 over the cap. And this led to the calculations going into the minuses, which is not what I wanted. Adding a couple of brackets fixed that issue very easily, and the guns were finally working as intended. And here's the status of the game so far. We've got a lot of good features in there already with a solid foundation for what the gameplay is going to be like. But that's going to do it for today. The test level is looking good, it has a decent structure, and will be used to test all the new features I add in the coming devlogs. But for now, Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about the level, or just anything you want to see in the future. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more devlogs like this, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.